Garden Care A to Z is brought to you by Effecto.
Welcome to Garden Care A to Z. My name is Bimray. What a great time of the year to start doing a bit of a garden cleanup. Now that could be as difficult as reshaping beds, putting in a new water feature, or as easy as pruning back the roses and cutting back all those dead leaves that have gone brown during the cold. What do you do with all the rubble that's left over from that cleanup though? Well, you could cart it off to the dump or simply create your own compost and put it back into the garden. Let's have a look and see how that can be done. This is a typical site at this time of the year. You have leaves strewn all over your lawn. Now the smaller areas, very simple to manage. A plastic rake, get that together and you put your leaves back into your compost. However, in a big expansive lawn, we have lots of trees. I've summoned a bit of help, and my help comes in the form of a machine, a vacuum blower. We've got all the leaves sorted out. They're ready for the compost bin. But now I'm sitting with a problem. I've got a pile of twigs which take a very long time to break down. However, I've summoned some help. Let's go and have a look. My help for this job comes from my garden shredder, which will turn these big twigs into tiny little chips, and that will decompose very easily and create a really decent compost in a short time. But of course, one has to protect your hands. We're going to take the contents of the shredder plus the leaves we've gathered, and we're going to go make compost. So the first thing we needed to do when we're making our own compost is find a little spot where we can do it. Now you can use a number of different methods. Either use a bin or a drum. It has to be aerated. So if you're using a solid drum, drill some holes into it so it can breathe. Or in my case, I'm using a tie vac. So position it in an area where you don't need to move it for a couple of months while everything's breaking down nicely. And of course, if you have a big garden and you have lots of material, you can simply do it in a pile in the back corner, tucked away in your garden somewhere. Now, what do you use when you want to make compost? Basically, any organic material. So we can start off, for example, by using the material that we've gathered from our cleanup. So the leaves that came out of that little machine. And then, of course, from the twigs that we broke down in the shredder, that really has broken it down, and that will make beautiful compost. One can use things from within the home. Things, for example, like old vegetables that you don't want anymore, that's gone all yellow. Tea bags, brilliant. Eggshells, great addition. And of course, the lawn cuttings. Just make sure they don't clump. So loosen it up with a fork, newspaper, but not the glossy stuff. Just the actual newsprint paper. And of course, you need an activator. This will help break this down so much quicker. So I've mixed that with water. When this is full, we're very simply going to make sure that we water that compost. Now, of course, the advantages of making your own compost. The reduction in your household waste is absolutely staggering. It's mind-blowing. And that, of course, helps all the landfill sites. Make your own compost. Where you're putting it down, that area will benefit directly because as it decomposes, as the water leaches through, the soil underneath will benefit from all those nutrients. Once you've done that, you can then start planting there immediately and move your compost bin around. And secondly, you can use the compost to re-energize your soil. It will bring back microorganisms which will benefit your plants. So my top tip for making compost, use an activator, use anything organic from the house. But just make sure that if you're using meat products, it is going to smell quite heavily. So use a very tightly fitting lid so you don't get that smell. Now that the lawn's gone brown for the winter, I've noticed there's some broadleaf weeds growing in amongst the lawn, which was quite difficult to see when everything is lush and green. But now we can handle this very, very simply. The lawn is dormant, the weeds are still growing actively, so we're going to use a non-selective herbicide, and within 7 days, this will be knocked out completely. That was a really successful cleanup. I made my own compost, really economical way of bringing nutrients into my garden. And of course, more importantly, I've reduced the amount of waste the household puts out. I've got rid of some weeds, and I'm looking forward to a fantastically beautiful green spring garden. Thank you for watching Garden Care A to Z. We'll see you again on the next one.
Garden Care A to Z is brought to you by Effecto.